Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Trust you're staying out of harm's way. One of the chapters assigned for early April, if you look at the syllabus, is one called Sporting Nations and Political Geography. And this is a very suggestive chapter about Americans' attitudes about international sport and why they do or don't play them. And he refers to you to a website, 50 Biggest International Sports Moments in the United States history, and he notes that 38 of those listed of the 50 are from the Olympic Games. And he Papineau kind of makes the argument here that Americans don't engage in international sports all that often. And he kind of wonders why that is. He mocks the idea, well, I think Eli Manning and the Giants played in London in a recent year, and Manning said to a reporter, well, we do engage in international play. We played a game in London. And that's not what the author meant. The author meant that you have international tournaments a great deal. And so he says the rest of the sporting world, the term international athlete means you had to represent your country in international competition. Of course, this is something that you see when the Olympics come up or these international tournaments. You might see Dirk Nowitzki, recently retired from the NBA, but a native of Germany, playing for the Germans in the Olympics instead of playing for the United States, even though he made more than $100 million playing basketball for the Dallas Mavericks and Mark Cuban. He still, if given the choice, he'd play with the Germans. Gretzky, when the United States would play in the Canada Cup each year, Wayne Gretzky, who made his fame in the United States, well, after playing in Edmonton, of course, they won 4 Stanley Cups in Edmonton, still played with Canada, even though he's now a United States citizen and has done really well here. So he says other countries are more apt to play in international tournaments. And he wonders aloud whether this is due to American exceptionalism, the idea that America thinks of itself as exceptional, as a kind of above and beyond the standards set by other nations. He doesn't define what exceptionalism is, so it's good to look up that term and see what it means. It does imply that you do have an exceptional sense of yourself, that you are kind of outside the normal code of behavior for international rule and law. And it implies the idea too that, well, Americans sprung from a revolution, separated from the British, or rebelled against the British, and that's part of our feeling that we're exceptional. And he goes into this idea and says these may be the reasons why the United States doesn't engage in international tournaments, but thinks of America as different in this way. I have my own reasons why I think the United States might not want to be involved so much in international play. One is that the best is right here. In hockey, basketball, baseball, and football, America has its best competition right here in the United States. It's not going to go to Czechoslovakia, for example, or Yugoslavia and find better hockey competition or basketball competition. The best teams play here in North America. So in that sense, there's no incentive to go elsewhere if the best in the world play here. I make the analogy that if you're on Broadway, if you're a Broadway actor, singer, or dancer, do you want to go off Broadway or to off Broadway to ply your craft? No, you're at the epicenter of the world stage, and so you can do it right here. So each of the leagues, whether hockey, basketball, football, and baseball, is now populated with international players who came here to play. So in that sense, where's the incentive? 2, some sports make more sense in international competition. Related to point 1, the attraction of the Olympics and other international competitions is strongest for athletes who play sports such as track and field, skating, gymnastics, swimming, volleyball, soccer, and others, where the world's best players converge on one venue. And the world's best players, best performers, may not be in all those sports here. And so skating, skiing, track and field, you're apt to find decent competition elsewhere. So the Olympics do make sense, is what I'm trying to say. It's not surprising that on this website, 38 of these most famous 50 competitions are in the Olympics, because they make sense for the United States. That's an incentive for them. Third, again, this is my own thinking on this. Will Americans get a fair shake in international competition? I'm going to send you a link of one of the all-time robberies that occurred in international sports, the '72 Olympics. The first Olympics, the Munich Olympics, marred by tragedy when 8 Jewish athletes were assassinated by Arab terrorists. But also the United States lost, in quotes, its first gold medal in basketball there, when actually it's one of the all-time rookings in the history of sports, where the last 3 seconds of the game were played over 3 separate times. So I'm going to look for a 15-minute link that I'm going to send you on that, because there's none. I wrote an article once on the worst decisions, and that this was indeed one of them. So will Americans get a fair shake? On occasion, America, especially in judged sports, where there are judges such as skating, gymnastics, and boxing, are apt to believe that there is enough anti-American sentiment in the world that it will influence the judges. 1988, Roy Jones losing to a Korean fighter, it seemed as payback for the '84 Olympics. Roy Jones outpunched this Korean fighter 3 times over, and yet the Korean was awarded a decision. So that's the third reason. Will America get a fair shake? 4, the economics of international play are dubious. America's 4 major sports pay their players exceedingly well. And so the incentive for increased pay and marketing is lessened by going to other nations. There's no need to. In addition, if a player is hurt badly in international competition, who bears the brunt of that injury? Mark Cuban has gone on record several times as saying he doesn't believe in these international competitions, world tournaments, Olympics. He says, what if one of his players, who he's paying $15 million a year, gets hurt, blows out a knee in the Olympics? How is he compensated? He's not at all. In fact, he loses. If that player is signed for his 5-year contract, total of $100 million, not an unusual contract these days, he's out that money. Who's compensating him? So what does he get out of this? It's hard to defeat that point. This is not, the financial incentives are not there. Finally, American exceptionalism, a word that Papineau brings up in this context, does figure into it. If America is living in a period of isolationism, then this is part and parcel of exceptionalism. And the notion that it can bypass the rules that apply to other nations, Papineau writes, is morally wrong. He thinks that it should not do that. However, there is a kind of, I guess, a spirit of isolationism at various times in American history, and this obtains in sports to some measure. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, although I see why someone in Europe might think that the Americans do have this attitude. In fact, in the Ryder Cup, the golf tournament, where we send a team of golfers, it's always a great incentive, Papineau writes, for the Europeans to beat the Americans. You know, those ugly Americans. We want to show them, teach them a lesson. They shouldn't be so haughty and proud and think that they're better than other people. And oftentimes that tournament has turned out badly for American golfers, as we send our team over and they lose. We've won a few times, but most times not, even though we have some great golfers in the last 25 years. So I wanted to bring that up, international sporting nations and political geography. Again, look for the link or 2 that I'm going to send on this, related to my reason 3, that Americans fear that they won't be judged fairly or will get a fair shake in these kinds of competitions. Continue to stay well, and I'll see you soon. Enjoy your brief vacation.